Ahoy, 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 ahoy. We're back. You back? Let me change this song to something a little more lo-fi. Not that I don't love this song. I like to start the stream with just a little bit of something that but when it gets time to actually doing sketches and scribbles and stuff, I'd rather use lo-fi. Oh, I got a little bit of coffee left, which brewed up a coffee before the stream. Feeling lethargic all day, but that's because I've been changed my whole routine. I now have like a workout routine and a trying to be a little bit healthier, stuff like that, which is abysmal. I mean, it's going well, but like the fact that it's going well is paramount to how miserable I feel right now physically. Again, not that that's a bad thing. Now, what do I have? Nothing really, but I'd like to add stuff, and it's all just highlights. Right one can never be certain. Highlight wise, we're pretty good. Pretty good. Got everything that matters. Might just maybe a bit too bright. Like a good highlight, but it needs to be like the right kind of color. Like that. Little stripes. And not too much, but it's just a little something for the brain. It's weird, it's been a while since I've done comic itself. Done stuff surrounding the comic. So it's nice to be back, but I also did feel myself having to muster up the motivation to do it. So that it's just a clear sign that I can't take too long of a break from my comic, otherwise I'll struggle to get back. Yep. You feel toasty. Well, it's starting to get into spring. It's slowly getting warmer. I actually don't do anything with it. The highlight is the only issue there. That's too high. Oh, that's weird. That's good. Next panel, just Ratchet's face and a little bit of background. I love to draw because I love Ratchet's minimal background. But it does always feel weird coming back to my work after being away from it for, even just a week. Like, what was I doing? Oh, right, yeah. As at this part of the comic. I've been daydreaming about other parts of the comic. Okay, scribble, scribble. Oh, that's why. Really fun. I'll do it. Still succumbs to the vector, which is one cool thing about Clip Studio Paint is that it's vector rule, which basically means that if you erase a line, it'll um, best estimate to kind of best line or give you the best erase. what I'm looking for is cleanest erase. Maybe a bit sharp. Maybe a bit sharp of a jawline. That's probably a little bit better. Go, nice. Go. Also, another thing you'll note, I'm starting to my streams, my big drawing streams will be on Mondays now, just because the way my social life works has changed. So I have Mondays more free than Sunday now. Those are terrible fingers. Really not that hard to draw like good ratchet fingers. So surprised I just fucked that up. I was talking. Got a lot on me, man. Give me one moment. I'm just gonna go turn my air conditioner on. It's just a bit warm. Still hear me? Yeah, very good. I was looking at my air conditioner settings for it. Constantly changing. I'm like, is someone fiddling with my air conditioner? No, it was just setting. My own stupid mistake. It's gonna start saying in this stream. I was like, I've gotten through volume 2 of Berserk. I've been reading Berserk. Um, I have the like ultra like the big volumes, so big like meaty tomes. I was like, oh cool. I'm gonna just get through Berserk or however much there is, and I'll start reading that as my like the manga that I'm gonna be reading because I know it's good. but I've gotten through volume 2 of the Visbig uh, volume. And I was gonna start the stream by saying, oh yeah, I've gotten through volume 2 of Berserk. This Griffith guy seems like a cool dude. Real edgy and mysterious. Because I know, like, I haven't read all the way through it, but like, I already know, like, the basic idea of who Griffith is due to the, due to having the internet. But I just thought it would be really funny to pretend that I'm just like, oh yeah, this Griffith guy seems like kind of cool, kind of chill. He's not, and I know he's not. Heard enough stories to know that he's not a cool, chill dude. That being said, still really enjoying Berserk. And I love that, like, we get the first volume, and it gives us a really good understanding of the world as it is, or like the present day, or Berserk, and who Guts is, and all that stuff. Then almost immediately into volume 2, we are thrown back in time to find out, why Guts is the way he is. Because, like, in the first volume, Guts is, like, an asshole. And he's, like, arrogant and cocky and stuff like that. But he's also, like, not cocky, he's confident in his abilities. Because, let's be honest, he's maybe one of the strongest people out there. So, yeah. But we're all just like, why is he like this? And we get to find out why he's like this. And why he hates this individual known as Griffith. But yeah, I've been super enjoying it. I'm also like, so that's like my reading. That's like my pleasure reading kind of stuff. And I know what you're all thinking. Berserk pleasure reading. Well, it's my non-fiction that I'm reading, I guess, to put it a better way. Because I'm also reading a lot of reference or what not reference books, but like technique books, not only on art but also on writing. So I'm currently working through a book that's teaching me how to make likable characters and like the best ways to make likable characters and stuff like that. That research is really important. As, not only the illustrator but the writer for Rat Baby, I need to kind of be on top of this stuff. So I need to know how to make likable characters. Because if I don't, it's gonna fuck over um story. Story that I'm so invested in. Okay, make some lines. see how this goes. Might just be a terrible, terrible mess in a hand draw. Yeah, it doesn't have the right kind of style that I'm looking for. I just hand draw stuff like that. Or along those. Of an arse in a chair, essentially. Yes. There we go. Something. Yeah. That could be fixed. I don't. Gonna look like a table is growing out of Ratchet's head, apparently. That's fine. That's to be expected. That ain't gonna be right. Yeah, the angle I'm thinking of. Not exactly front on. Yeah, almost top down slightly. There we go, that's better. That's good. Alright. Now I gotta also come up with characters who will sit in these seats. Because I'm still waiting on character designs. That being said, how much space do I actually really like? That's gonna lead people to believe stuff. None of that feels right. Gonna start. Go back. Go back in. Yeah, it's too close. Head. That back out the lips. Hey, Zombie Slayer, how you doing? How am I? I'm doing good. I'm okay. Yeah, we're back. Back to some more comic. So, things are good. Progress has returned. Dream. That's a little. Yeah. Currently just working my way through this angle that this person is like sitting at. the day at work I jumped into stream was wild. It was like a 12, 14 hour work shift fun in a way. Oh, damn. I mean, good on you for getting through it, right? Yeah, 12, 14 hours. That's intense. Pretty fun day though. Yeah, that's fair. Still had a good time. That's something. It will. It was rough, but you did get free lunch at a hotel, buffet lunch at the same hotel, and a burrito from one of your clients. So pretty good trade off. Yeah, that's a pretty good balance, right? You get free food. It may have been a hard work day, but hey, free food. Free food is always welcome. Brilliant. That'll do it. That's how people got me to parties and stuff. Promise of free food. That look. That looks fine. My brain's always going to be harder on myself than anyone's going to give a shit about. Because, like, ultimately, people are going to see that at one panel and then on. That's the thing I got to remember about comics. And we set up for a concert in which you got to semi-party, eat more, and buy stuff as you semi worked. That's cool. That's awesome, actually. In person, it's like super unimportant, but next person needs to be a figure. We've got currently character and character design. I'll leave that now. I think it'd be a pretty shit deal if I just drew them once and it was their lower half. It was just a long ass day. When I got home, I showered and immediately slept. That's fair. You'd sleep well, honestly, for a day like that. You'd sleep well. I'm gonna draw the person first, and then chair next. Enough about me. How are you? How is Dishonored? Yeah, I'm super good. Dishonored was awesome, as it always is. We got it done, so basically I'm moving on to whatever's next, which could be the DLC. Sent out the poll as per usual, and so far Dredge is winning based on the Instagram numbers. So That's cool. I've never played Dredge, so I'm curious to see how it is. But also, we got like almost a whole week before that's decided, so I'm not, I'm not worried nor concerned, or I'm also not going to call it early. Just so far, Dredge has a few more votes. Then I think Near Automata. That's a flat butt. Know nothing about Dredge, thus I can't say anything. That's fair enough. Well, if it wins, then we'll find out together. Which is a nice prospect, I guess, in and of itself. Get rid of this bit. At least for now. Fun fact about Nier, if I remember correctly, at least some of its music is a fake language mixed with other languages, but also still sounds like English. Ooh, interesting. Always cool. I know that Nier has like multiple endings, well, which would be interesting to see play out. Whoever this character is, they're dummy thick, but also realistically, like reasonably thick. Like, that feels like a thickness that a person would actually have. There we go. Gotta be honest, that's mostly what you know Nier for. The multiple endings or the music. Either or, still great. These legs actually need to be longer now because of that. But it's I would much rather make the legs on of the chair longer than have to deal with making shit proportional. The chairs. I will alter the chairs as a alter the. Oh, you mean the ass? uh, yes, that also makes sense. No judgment, of course, but yes, unsurprising. That part of the game was very popular with those of whom I know talking about it. Those of whom I knew who talked about it anyway. Oops. I say, oh wait, I could do this, and then I fuck something up. There we go. Some would say it's the most popular part of the game for reasons that have just been lost to you. Yeah, wild. People would become so attached to a game, so much in it. Not me though. No, I'm in it for. I say callously. It's good. I might move some of that cushion up to E, but other than that, everything's. I'm a happy mouse with happy-ish mouse. If we ever find out why I played, the more you know. The more you. Oh right, yeah. If we ever find out why. I should add that as a uh bits and audio like thing. Forgotten the name of it. I haven't streamed. I took a week break, a week long break from streaming. I've forgotten the name of certain words that I comment on streams. That'd be a great idea. Absolutely. I need more audio redeems, honestly, because they're great. They're so much fun. I love me a good text to speech, but we have that already, so got that sorted. Finished all of Metro 2033 recently, and I've got to say it's very fun. Love the Mother Russia Fallout vibe. That's fair. That is cool. But it would be fun. I think these two guys are going to be like miners, so like people who mine ore, not people who are underage. Mine ores. So weird, but like if you draw something small and from a further distance, it makes it squiggly. And I thought for a while it was my hands, but it wasn't. Like not my hands being squiggly. It's like the stabilization that squiggled it out. Mine is like how dwarves are often perceived in media. Yeah, exactly. Because the one thing we're going to learn, well, one of the first things we're going to learn about Kaitiaki is that it is kind of a mining colony. My brain losing itself. And like, it's just like little details added to the clothing, like certain kind of pads and padding. things like that. Stains where they would normally be for like that. Tools and stuff, which I should just add in. Pickaxe. But I don't want to put it on them while they're sitting down. That seems weird. I also need to alter my loop deck's like settings because I keep accidentally pressing a button that just switches the brush. Switches to a brush that I do not give a shit about. And will likely never use. Just have to change it back. Every time I mean to press undo, I sometimes accidentally press that. It takes up time. So you know me, I love a tool. Well, character design, especially fantasy character design, love a tool belt. You know? Just a belt with a lot of pouches. Comes a pain in the ass when it comes to like coloring, but in the moment, a lot of fun. Very cool. Yeah, I like that. It's simple. It's such simple like design, you know? And then it's also simple world building as well because we get to know the area. Uh Mouse, I need your help. Elise Hewitt. Who I suppose is some sort of Instagram model and is Aussie. Oh cool. Posed with a bottle of Yakult in a store. Do I have an explanation? No. Um, I assume she's got a deal or sponsorship with some with a company that I wish I had. But that is weird. That's really weird. Yeah, I mean, I wish I knew. I wish I knew for certain. That sounds mental, actually. Because your cult really isn't the sort of thing that you would like get a model to appear with. Not that it's like unhealthy or anything like that. It's actually quite the opposite. It's quite healthy. But it's like, does it really need that kind of um what's the word I'm looking for? Promotion? You're the only person I know who drinks Yakult, so I immediately thought of you. Yeah. I mean, but then again, I also don't follow the Yakult news. I'm not on the beat of the Yakult like stuff. That being said, maybe I should be. Um, that is interesting and deeply weird. But hey, if they're handing out sponsorships, hit up your old buddy Grey Mouse. I'll talk about Yakult. I'll talk about Yakult all day. They want to sponsor me, I would more than happily go. This stream is sponsored by Yakult. Sent it to you on Instagram, so look at it whenever. Cool beans, thanks man. I will definitely check it out. I'd actually love to know why. Now I'm curious as well. It's just like, why would they do that? Very weird. give this guy a smock too. They're almost overalls, but not. But yeah, smock. Love me a bit of a smock. I'm gonna do this to myself, I just add unnecessary details. And as a result, people do engage with the background, which is awesome. But it's also like, I just keep doing it to myself. I keep adding extra details to like, little scenes. Keep going, and then it's just like, oh wow, I've actually put kind of stuff into the background. For no other reason than I just kind of wanted to. She's like a very pretty girl who could do whatever she wants to you, just putting it out there. Yeah, fair enough. And posed with a Yakult bottle and a Yakult shirt. Interesting. Surely that's a sponsorship thing. Or she's working with a very strange photographer. That's also a likelihood. Like the kind of photographer who's like, I'm really out there, and then he just gets his models to pose with, you know, uh, what some would consider very random, common consumerist products. And they're like, I'm changing the zeitgeist, and it's like, probably not. You wouldn't believe this, but you're actually probably the zeitgeist, or you're probably just following the zeitgeist, unaware of actually how uninspired you are. Because it's the thing about photography. There's only, I mean, I love photography, but there's only so much you can kind of innovate. Very lucky photographer, almost certainly. Some photographers, it's just a job to them as well. But I would assume if you get to photograph pretty models, then you're probably pretty. That feels stable. That feels weird. That feels like a weird thing to draw. Yeah, that's cool. Two human uh, miners sitting having a chat behind Ratchet. Right, calf part of the pants, because calves have curves, some sort of an incline, you know. I love photography, but there's only so much you can innovate. Mouse obviously hasn't heard of all the Instagram models. That's exactly what I mean. No, I'm joking, but like, yeah, well, it's not even like photography's fault. It's just the medium. In that there are some ways you can innovate, but not in in the ways that you would think, because the world is in that kind of avenue. It's quite binary. Because, like, I would say, if you think about it this way, and people have different definitions of what's innovative, yeah, exactly. And that's also a very fair point. If you look at it this way, in illustration, there are different ways to draw and different techniques to draw. But at the end of the day, with photography, there's a lot you can do externally to taking the picture. But at the end of the day, you still have to take the picture, and the picture depending on your settings and things like that, that kind of makes a huge difference depending what kind of glass you use, what kind of lenses you use, things like that, what kind of camera you use. Sure, they all make differences, but at the end of the day, you are taking a picture, and there's not that limitless scope that you can get with like illustration or writing or painting. And it's not to what's the word I'm looking for? Downplay the effect that photography has on art forms, because I adore photography. However, I do also believe that there is a sense or a nature to photography that is that you make, you create feeling and you build emotion, but within a certain box. I'll also admit I feel like I'm explaining it badly as well. I feel like I could explain it better, but I also don't feel like I can explain it better. Or in the way that I'd want to explain it. Doesn't matter though. I've said what I said. If I get cancelled for it, that's just the life I'm destined to live. Greymouse doesn't believe in photography. End this man's career. End this mouse's career. Hydrate. Ooh, actually I should really do that. Thank you, Zombie Shire. Delicious. Um, and I feel like I should still add to the crowd space. But in fairness, I know nothing about photography, and maybe the same goes for the rest of the people who see this. Yeah, you never know. Like honestly, it's also one of those avenues where it's like I'm more than happy to be wrong as well. In that if there are ways to innovate photography, I'm more than happy to be wrong about my assumption, because at the end of the day, I will have learned. But my current standpoint is that because it's a format that is so technical, it's not necessarily, there's not necessarily the subjectivity. It's like if you take a shit photo, you've taken a shit photo. Um, but that's just me as well. That's me. And I may not have the mentality down as well, because I haven't really done photography commercially for a very long time. I moved to analog photography, and then I kind of like I live with that and I really enjoy that. But it's no longer a job, it's a enjoyment thing. A hobby, I guess some could say. I'll give those guys blue pants, I think. I kind of like the utility brown. Brown, wow, I can't believe I said utility brown. Utility blue. I literally said blue in the previous sentence, and then I just went utility brown. Am I stupid? Am I some sort of fucking moron? Matter. It's over now. Utility brown. No. You're an idiot, Grey Mouse. You're a fool. Take that color. Rare review. If you've seen the show The 100s, then the 100. 100. Give me a moment. May have seen it. Check. Check my letterboxd. Ah, I haven't seen it, but I love the idea of the concept. Um, with nothing other than what I've read about it in mind, I think it's a cool idea. It seems to have been received well by IMDb. However, I think it's sci-fi, so I definitely know it wouldn't be my cup of tea. I'm not really a sci-fi guy. Um, that's okay. That's a subjective thing. I think objectively, it's got a lot of good things going for it, from what I've read. I had a quick cursory read about some of the reviews and stuff. Would I watch it though? Probably not, because it's a sci-fi. Sci-fi. I'm not big into sci-fi. My issue with it is that it's one of those shows that went on for way too long. Oh, right. So was it one of those? So as a question, since you've seen it, um, is it one of those shows that went beyond 3 seasons and then began to stagnate, or was it one of those shows that went for like 5 seasons and began to stagnate? Because there is actually something I could probably talk about in regards to that, as someone who studied filmmaking. So there is actually something useful I can say regarding the 100. If it felt like it started to stagnate after like 3 or 5 seasons. Because I have something that I use as like a, that's what I'm looking for. I use as a foundation for stuff that is not actually an opinion based theory. It is grounded in objectivity, which I love. I really love that stuff in film. Where there are things about filmmaking or TV shows or just storytelling that are grounded in objectivity. And people don't necessarily realize this or know this, in that there are some things that make certain films or TV shows or stories in general objectively good or bad. And I really like them because they're really interesting and they really are a fascinating guide as to how you should tell a story or how you should interpret a story or what you should interpret about a story that is good or bad. So there's seasons in total, and I would say after season 4 it was meh. I'm not sure if I played Fallout before I saw it, but I love the idea of Fallout. Same with Mad Max. I love the post-apocalyptic movies and games and shows. The 100 went on for too long. Okay, that makes sense. Um, so then it does kind of fit into that outlier of what I'm about to talk about, which is good. But yeah, the concept of post-apocalyptic um, worlds is very fascinating. I think I only have like exceptions for it because I probably wouldn't watch a series on Mad Max, but I really enjoyed the Mad Max game. And with that said, I loved the Fallout series, and I still do to this day. But one thing about it is that I probably wouldn't watch a TV series about it. Um, However, what I'm about to talk about, so it started to fall apart after 4 seasons, or get meh after 4 seasons. So objectively, so this is an objective thing. There is a grace period for stories. It is known as the 3 season stagnation, or I refer to it as the 3 season stagnation. Uh, which is basically, it's when described badly, it comes across as a curse. So after 3 seasons, if the story can no longer bring something new to it, or the story can no longer bring something new to its current contents. It either has to revive itself in some unique way, or it will die. Or, worse still, it will stagnate. So, interestingly, I don't know enough about the 100, but I'm going to use examples of stuff that I know quite well. In that, so one way that this was done, which was quite unsuccessful, but like, well, not quite unsuccessful, but partially unsuccessful, was Avatar, the Last Airbender. So that was 3 seasons long. Most consider it to be a perfect animated series. And it is. It's fantastic. The series is great because they know they knew what they were doing, they knew how much they wanted to get out of it, and they knew how it was going to end and when it was going to end. But Legend of Korra lacks a lot of what made Avatar great. And there's been, wide speculation and deliberation as to why this is, why it wasn't received as well, why it wasn't, enjoyed as much, things like that. Plenty of different reasons, a lot of them being maybe slightly missing the mark, some intentionally missing the mark to kind of detract ire from, the main issues being, poor writing or things like that. The problem is because it was a continuation that relied so heavily on the back of Avatar. And so it almost became in itself a 4th season and a 5th season and so on and so forth. Hold on, I'll read all your messages before I get to your current one. If you've seen Book of Eli with Denzel Washington, that was a great movie. So I love the whole the world's gone to shit and we don't know who is alive or if anyone else is alive at all. If you said Zombie Slayer, watch this post-apocalyptic movie, I'd be invested with no questions asked. I have seen Book of Eli. I did love that. That's a really good. That's a really good movie. I'll have to think about post-apocalyptic movies that I've seen that I could recommend, but I can't think of any currently. Just trying to think. But they could have made more and stuff, but we either gamble with getting 4 good seasons or just ended at 3. That's it. I'm talking about before Korra. So here's the thing. They probably couldn't have gotten 4 good seasons out of Avatar. Because the arc, so they could have extended the arc out for another season and it would have been okay, but it would have started to lose interest. Like people would have started to lose interest because it's taking us too long to get to the end. If you had a 4th season after the end, like after the arc, it would have crashed and burned. And this is the whole thing, is the whole arc system or the purpose of arcs is that you can do one big arc well, but then from there you actually need to let the story go because no one's interested in seeing the remainder of things to come. If I'm correct, they had the choice of doing season 4 or the live action movie, and they chose the live action movie. I think that probably would have been, that actually may have been a good call, even though the movie was garbage. I don't think it would have been a positive result if it had been a 4th season, because it just doesn't make sense for there to be a 4th season of Avatar. Like story writing wise, it just doesn't make sense. And some, like, it's almost like a sickness when you do, when your show starts to parody itself after its 4th or 6th season. So the reason I keep saying 3 or 5 season limit is because some shows have an expanded threshold. And this is because they use a certain long form storytelling style, where they have a series of smaller arcs that builds to a large, big ending arc, but it all kind of overarches for the entire series, basically. like the lesser of two evils. I like that thought. Either this live action is shit, and most are for any anime or season, or with the characters we know and love, have the plot strained with a plethora of problems. Exactly, you've got it. And that's like, it's not a critique on the writers at all because they did an amazing job with Avatar. It was perfect, perfect, in every way. However, it's just the nature of storytelling, and this is something that people don't seem to get with like constant running like TV shows. Stranger Things did this, Stranger Things is starting to parody itself, and Stained. You said strained, sorry. That was your fault. No, no, that's all good. Stained is a good word. Strained for me also is a good word because basically, I mean, they both work kind of in this context, so I'm happy to go either way. Um, but yeah, it would have done that where people would have been like, "Oh, this season wasn't good," or "This season wasn't. I didn't enjoy this season," and as a result, people would have fallen off, and everyone can say, "I really enjoyed Avatar. I thought Avatar was the best." If it had an extra season where nothing happened, people would be like, "Oh, Avatar, I loved Avatar, but season 4 was like terrible." And that's not a good legacy to end it on. That sucks. That's a shit legacy. One really bad season with three excellent seasons. It's almost madness. But yeah, I also think like other good examples of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, where Brooklyn Nine-Nine was great for many seasons because it's also that it's a comedy, so it can kind of expand out from the 3 seasons to 5 seasons because it has like overarching plot lines, but each episode is almost standalone for the most part. Um, but then once it reached its 5th season and it had continuous storylines, you notice that all the characters began to become their stereotyped, like on paper versions of themselves. And that would have been really bad for the show because the show kind of tried to tackle a lot of stuff. And if it had continued on that path, it would have ended up stereotyping characters, uh, like diverse characters, and giving them depictions that were likely not very positive for like the intention that they were trying to provide, or the uh, provide the sensitivity that they were trying to provide, and things like that. Right, and the Iroh and Sokka insert your favorite character name as their character tarnished forever, or the live action tanks, as most have. Now that I think of it, I'd choose the live action as well, since it's different characters that are imposters of who we love. Yeah, exactly. And you can just forget it ever existed, which most people have, as opposed to there being an extra season that just didn't work. And actually, it leads me to talk about Castlevania, because I loved Castlevania, and then it shot itself in the foot. And the big problem is because it ended its arc in season 2. Like, its big arc, we need to stop Dracula from, you know, overthrowing the entire world. And they do it that at the end of season 2. And season 3 is, a hot garbage fire, like mess, because the arc is over, then you have no motivation to follow these characters because Dracula is gone. The greatest evil that we would face um, is gone. And then what do they do in season 3? Oh no, they're trying to resurrect Dracula. And it's like, yes, because you've run out of ideas. Because imagine if our soccer was just boring as fuck. Yeah, oh my god, that would have, yeah, killed it. Killed it. But because soccer in the live action isn't interesting, I can accept it better, I guess. Yeah, that's not our soccer, so we can kind of just let that go. Pardon me, I'm just burping now. That's better. Slight yellow. Just a nicer color, I like to think. For a workman's shirt. Alright, yeah. Okay, what's left to fill in color-wise? Ratchet's teeth. We can get... Oh, and his tongue. And then we could get filling in the colors. Gotta be honest, that's a pretty good reason to hate Castlevania for either kill Dracula in this hyped up, built up for so long type of way, or just don't fucking kill him at all. Yeah. Well, like... Ed... Oh, sorry, just choked on my own spit there. Or admittedly, you could probably get away with doing a... It's... you could do like a 3-act structure, so a 3-season structure with Castlevania. Because it's, you know, three season structure is like one of the most prolific things to do. I'm literally doing a 3-act structure for Rat Baby. But because they were so good at world building and storytelling and pacing, they actually got to the end of their arc at season 2, and it's a really concise, really like well told story in a really short period of time. However, after they finish that season, they're just like, well, what do we do now? And because there's not like Carmella, she was an excellent like side villain in season 2, but she has no agency after losing. Spoilers. So she doesn't make a good main villain. And then Isaac, who was gonna be a villain, ends up not being a villain because he gets a redemption arc. And so as a result, we actually don't have a villain anymore. And they're just like, well, who's a good convincing villain? Well, we had Dracula and he was great. Dracula's dead. What do we do about that? I don't know, bring him back. One of those is probably the better choice, but the fake out deaths I despise with every bone in your body. Oh yeah, absolutely. And Resurrection is also, ugh. Not a big fan of Resurrection. And the art style and just how everything looked was great as well. Oh, it was fantastic. And I heard that there was, like, that animation studio was supposed to do the Berserk anime. And I was really excited for that because they do the like, hatching, anger stuff that they do in Berserk in everything. Like, in all of Castlevania, you see that, like, burning, kind of fiery hatching in their animation, and it's beautiful, and it's how Berserk it's how anger is depicted in Berserk. So I was super excited about it. But then season 3 came out, and I was like, this is shit. Not the animation, but the story. Actually, Dracula is in hell protecting his wife, as you see happen in one episode. I know, but also that begs the question: why the fuck is Dracula's wife in hell? No, I know why. I know the answer to that because she was condemned to hell by the priests, I assume. But that still means he's dead. He's still dead. They were still resurrecting him from the dead. Not a fake out. He was dead. It's just the world. It's just the world kind of building of that. In that they have, oh yeah, you know, death is not the end, but it's the end for the like the material plane, which is fine. But it's also like, well, you can't be allowed to leave the death, like the plane of death, or return to the material plane. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, can't argue with your arguments. Yeah, you know, I have a degree in film. I mean, just because I have a degree in film, it doesn't mean that I'm an authority on this. I just know how to not argue these, discuss these points because I like discussing these points. And we've been over this before, but Dracula killing only the people who were responsible didn't protect his wife well. Like I can't be mad at him. Yeah, it's like one of the best parts of season one is that we are endeared to Dracula in the first episode. We actually kind of like Dracula. Well, not like Dracula, but we can actually respect him. And I remember finding myself actually like getting like being on his side for the whole "you have 1 year, prepare yourselves." And I was like, "Yeah, Dracula." I was like, that was actually quite restrained of you. Because really, let's be honest, he probably could have fucked up that entire church himself if he wanted to. But the fact that he gave them a year to prepare, and then most of them didn't do anything, or some of whom celebrated, the anniversary, he was like, well, clearly you don't deserve mercy, and then he just went all out. It was awesome. Okay, sure, he shouldn't just commit genocide, but I don't know. The church, even in real life, were pretty C-wordy and stuff. Yeah. Oh, wait, I can say cunty. They were pretty cunty. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They were awful, and I really like the characterization of the church in the comic, not the comic, in the show, because yeah, they're really just like you really despise them. Fucked up everyone whenever he wanted and without warning. Yeah, exactly. And it's like we actually kind of um, admire his restraint, because let's be honest, like you would finding out your wife has just been essentially murdered for no reason other than because she associates with you. You either spiral into a depression blaming yourself, which of course he does do, or you lash out at those who are responsible. And let's be honest, he does both. But it's great because it's not completely unreasonable. Murdered in one of the worst ways as well. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And like you don't get their reasons, but you don't get the church's reasons because really what they did was disgusting and wrong. But also you can kind of track the thought process in that she was like a wise woman healing people in a way that actually healed them, and so fewer people relied on the church for guidance, and so the church no longer had quite the same following, and as a result they weren't raking in the same amounts of money, or they didn't have the same amount of they didn't have the same chokehold on society or on the people as they used to. So they were like, oh cool, right, we need to make an example of this woman and make sure that everyone continues to believe in us. So, she was a witch working for the devil. Let's burn her at the stake, make an example of her. And so, like, in two parts of it, what's amazing about that is that those who believe, those who believe in the church, are like, well, she was a witch, so I gotta stay true to the church and make sure that I, remain true to the ways of God and stuff like that, and I continue to be a true believer because I don't want to end up like her. And then those who didn't believe that she was like a witch still know that she was punished for what she did for her community. So even if they don't necessarily return to the church, they know not to cross the church, and that's kind of like the implication and the work of implication that's done in Castlevania is fantastic and like super fascinating. So I love that about that show. Loved that about that show. And then they kept making Hector do the same fucking thing every fucking season. Because either they think I'm stupid, we're stupid, or they're stupid, or Hector's stupid, which he is, but like, no one is that stupid. It's one of my least favorite story point, or like character arcs, is Hector's. Because he's just critically stupid. My most disappointing observation of a character. Hector. Makes me mad. I love that no matter what happens, I always find a way to talk about Castlevania and complain about Castlevania. I love it. One of my favorite series. The D&D character I'm currently playing as originally started out as like a homage to Trevor Belmont, you know. So I love that series. I don't know much about medicine and healing back then, but apparently during the Black Death, 1346 to 1353 AD, ways of curing the plague was bloodletting and to let the blood out, use leeches, swallow gems and jewels. So if there was someone who knew even basic medicinal practices, she'd be very useful. And the church does the thing of killing the healer, but not kill the big scary guy, Dracula, because yeah, exactly. I mean, essentially, yeah. And like they could buy into the skepticism, but they also believe that they are the righteous, like they are the righteous people. So they think Dracula can't touch them. They're doing what's right, and it's one of the things. So like the character like archetype or the villain archetype that I love to hate the most is the character who does stuff that is obviously and very clearly bad, but believe they're in the right. Not sure if Castlevania takes place around the Black Death, but regardless, you'd want someone who knows their stuff. Oh, absolutely, yeah. Like, because of who we are, we get to do whatever the fuck we want. Yeah, exactly. And they kind of believe that their behavior is justified because they are doing it for God. And it's not even like about, like, God told us to do this. We're doing this for God. So he should, like, God should just kind of trust us on this. We're doing the right thing. Cough, cough, including not paying taxes. Cough, cough. That a jab at me? I'm fighting the man. I love that that's just a running joke that I don't pay taxes. I do pay my taxes. I paid a big load of taxes a little while back. They were fines for not paying my taxes. No, I mean the church. Oh shit, I just called myself out. I just self-reported there. Yeah, that too. Yeah, not you. Well, you know, church and I have something in common at the very least. The only thing we have in common. And that being said, it's still a joke. I don't pay my taxes. I continue to pay my taxes. I pay a lot of taxes. I actually do pay a lot of taxes. Tragic, but also good because I want to contribute to society some capacity. Sure, I could say it to you, but I like you. From what I know about the church, I kind of fucking hate them. Yeah, yeah, exactly. They're not roguish scamps like the mouse. Paid my dues, so I get to not pay taxes. That works, right? Surely. Surely that's how it works. I make people laugh and I sometimes say wise things. Surely I can not pay tax. That gives me an out, right? Yeah, most definitely. Hey, nice. Like to hear it. Love to hear it. What was I gonna say? But one of my favorite bits in Castlevania in the first season is when Dracula does actually attack Tagovishta. and that priest who's like kind of the figurehead for like our directed hate towards the church because he's the guy who basically set Dracula's wife to burn. But then he's like hiding inside the church, and then the demons come into the church, and he's like, "You can't be in here. You're demons and shit. God will smite. Like God is going to smite you for your blasphemy and stuff like that." And then the demons just like, "Well, God's not here. God is not here in this place. Your God makes what you do for your God makes him sick." And it's so cool because it's like it's such brutal comeuppance. I love it. And then his like corpse is used as like a uh, a tool basically by Carmella uh, later in season 2, which is awesome because it's like a cool callback. Your God is not here. He vomits at your worship. Let us kiss you, or something to that effect. Yeah, exactly. He's like, but we love you. Without you, we wouldn't be here. So we like you. And I love, like, basically in that guy's last moments, he is given absolute confirmation that what he was doing was wrong. Um, he, he pretty much, well, he did do exactly the opposite of what his god would have wanted. So he basically spat in the face of his own god and was confirmed for it, and ended up gaining the favor of the very people he hated. And I love that because it's like that's like super villain comeuppance. You didn't know that his corpse was in season 2. So it's super cool, and I really like Carmella in season 2 because she's actually really like a compelling, intelligent character. So anyone who's watching who hasn't seen Castlevania season 2 and wants to, spoilers, we're going to be spoiling it, and I've spoiled it already plenty, but I thought I'd provide a warning. But basically, her plan is to actually separate the army from the castle and then siege the castle herself, and then basically kill Dracula and take over as the head of this army, and like gain control of the remainder of Grezhit or Targovishta. We like you, bro. That's my favorite part. Thanks for basically giving birth to us. Let us show you where we come from. That demon, probably. Yeah, exactly. Such a cool character that never shows up again. Just that one demon that fucks up shit. Um, it's great. It's really cool, like dialogue. But basically, to separate the castle from the army, she convinces Hector to convince Dracula to move the castle to the battlefield. And then, because the battlefield is right next to a big lake, she gets the corpse of this. Hey, Nix, how you doing? Love my reference? Yeah, I need a reference for Ratchet. He needs to have an accurate representation, you know? And you would say it is accurate, right? For everybody who doesn't know, Nex was a part of the campaign that Ratchet was a part of. So she knows what he looks like, and she got to uh, get involved with him firsthand. We're talking about Castlevania as well, just as a little insight. But basically, Carmella uses the corpse of that priest to bless the water, so it's baptized water. And then, so when the vampires fall into it, they burn up. If I was there, I'd be like, I'm probably going to die, but just let me and my family live, and you can have your way with them. Oh my god. Yeah, probably. Gotta do what you can to survive. I've talked about this before. Do everything you can to survive. And in the name of survival, a lot of people's actions, though grim, might actually be necessary. How you doing, Nix? Oh, dude, that makes so much sense. Yeah, there's a flood of water that comes out of the front door of the castle, right? Yeah, yeah, that too. But yeah, it's basically she uses that corpse to uh, yeah baptize, bless the water. Good, just had dinner with Calpa. Very cool. Nice. What'd you have for dinner? Crisp pan full of cheese. That's what I had for dinner. My favorite dinner. It's girl dinner. Eh? Uh, Never realized that's the reason why, but that's cool. Watches that episode to see Carmela doing it after the stream. Yeah, do it. It's also kind of went to an Italian restaurant. Oh, cool. So yes, cheese. A little bit of cheese. Um, yeah, and then there's a bit like in earlier in the season where you actually see like his body get dumped in Hector's like pile, like body pile, because Hector, if people don't know, is a forge master. So basically, he can create an army from the dead, and so they need corpses for that. And one of the corpses that you see dumped on the pile is the corpse of that priest. Super cool, really cool. Not foreshadowing, but pre-shadowing or post-shadowing, which is basically like or calling back, basically. But it's awesome, really well done in Castlevania. At least season 1 and 2, and I guess maybe 4. Season 4 was fine, not great, but fine. Girl dinner, so like chicken nuggies. I like chicken nuggies, but I haven't had chicken for ages. I'm actually taking care of myself now, so I'm actually having like healthy dinners and stuff. I eat halloumi now, which is still cheese, but like I'm correct, one of the few people who can forge demons. Yeah, exactly. That's also a thing that I fucking hate about season 3. Is that forge masters are basically like these rare and special individuals who kind of can gain the ability to forge demons and re-forge life because of very specific circumstances of their lives and their upbringing and their intelligence and things like that, and also like this magic that can only be found within their blood. Season 3, they're everywhere. And there's literally an offhanded comment where some woman goes, "Oh yeah, I'm a forge master as well," but she doesn't fucking do anything. She doesn't do any forge mastering. Used it as a plot point to stop Isaac killing her. And it's dumb as fuck. Yeah. Uh, Bro, that's what happens in Corpse After. I guess I'm looking at those episodes now. Yeah, watch season 1 and 2 again. They're great. And then just pretend that season 3 and 4 never happened. Love halloumi? That doesn't surprise me. You look like the kind of person who would like halloumi. Backhanded compliment. Livid. Not a backhanded compliment. Halloumi's great. You're a cheese bitch. That doesn't surprise me. Also breaks law as well, since the question is where the hell were you guys earlier? Exactly, yeah. I guess in a sense they don't serve Dracula. So they probably like Hector and Isaac were chosen as Forge Masters for Dracula because they had a close connection with him, because they met him, you know, over his travels. But also it's still weird because yeah, it's like Forge Masters are not, they're supposed to be rare, and then in season 3 they're everywhere. And it's really annoying because it's just like, well, that kind of destroys the mystique of the Forge Master. But then they also refuse to elaborate on Forge Masters as well, and why the two have like very different styles of creating demons. It's never elaborated on. It's never expanded upon. So we actually know nothing about how Forge Masters create demons, because like Hector basically slams metal together and can create demons from creating a spark, whereas Isaac stabs them and like, well, imbues a dagger with magic and then stabs them, and that creates them. And it's like, cool, it lends to their backgrounds and their past and stuff, but we never get an expansion on that, so we don't know why it's different for each of them when they're supposed to be Like they're basically doing the same thing. They're creating demons from corpses, but we never get to know why they cast with different abilities and stuff like that. What did I have for dinner? I had so it's a chicken dish that I have created myself. I need to put it together as a recipe, and it may show up in a certain cookbook that might be showing up uh, in the future that may be related to this world. But basically, it's just a chicken stir fry essentially. But I coat the chicken in. Oh, that's line work. I coat the chicken in flour, and then while it's cooking, I coat it in honey, so it's a nice sticky, like a sticky chicken, basically. Sticky glazed chicken. Sure, most humans won't involuntarily go, but because of how much power, wealth, influence, more of everything else, he could make a deal with them that they become a forge master and get their own castle or something. Yeah, that's true. But I think the thing with Dracula was that Hector and Isaac were the two forge. Well, it's only two humans he could trust. They were the ones he met in his travels, and that's why they were chosen. Because they didn't make a deal with Dracula. He chose them, and then they answered his call. Essentially, to everyone, to everything. Looks to be everything in a sense, but also like it's still weird, and the fact that there's only two forge masters that we get to know anything about, and then there are like 8 or 9 other forge masters who we learn nothing about, but they just exist as like plot points. It's almost like the devil fruit in One Piece, where at first they're supposed to be rare, and then in halfway through season 1, it's just like, oh look, this garbage bag has eaten a devil fruit, and it's like everything has had like a devil fruit if it's plot convenient. Not to criticize again, but like it's still great, and you can still do stuff well, even with like quite contrived story aspects. Gonna make that same color because it's hard to see as a wide shot. Bubbity boo boo. There's still that to do. But yeah, I'm also probably gonna make a cookbook about recipes that exist in uh, the Rat Baby universe, just so then I can do illustrations of foods and stuff. And I really enjoy cooking, so it's nice to combine passions and stuff. Yeah, it was super nice. It was a delicious meal and nutritious. And it didn't make me shit my pants, which is always a good sign for a good meal. Now that I've done all this, I'm actually going to add something in the background because I'm a glutton for punishment. Your pasta was delicious? Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. Love me a good pasta. We got risotto balls to go, so now I get to have a snack in your PJs. Hey, that's always good. Always nice to have like something to just to go as well, especially if it's Italian. Oh, oh. I have an Italian place just down the road from my work, so sometimes I'll just go and pick up some like lasagna or stuff like that, and I'll get like arancini balls stuff because they're delicious. And yeah, best the best life. screen. These risotto balls, man, like arancini balls, but with pumpkin instead. Ooh. Pumpkin instead. That sounds pretty good. That sounds heckin' bussin'. And as many people who know me and who know you know, like, we all know you love spaghetti. Big fan. No, next, big fan of spaghetti. Spaghetti. Yeah, next loves a bit of spaghetti. Big fan of the spaghetti. Spaghetti. Slowly working through like background distance. Being like, I should add this. Give you chat. Yeah. Just string cheese. Just string cheese waiting for her to get. What? I might have quit that. I say weird shit all the time. That's good. That's surely. You're doing shadows. Ow, my wrist. Oh no. I just fell on my hand and shit my pants. A meaningless joke. Of course, but a funny one to me. Ramos. Gramamoose. Multiply in shadows. And there we go, we got shadow color. Very nice. Is Kalpa prepping your arancini? Oh, your spaghetti, never mind. So you don't like sci-fi, but you love Fallout. Is Fallout one of those very rare exceptions? Yeah, I would say so. Sci-fi is just not my cup of tea, I think. So it's not into it, but I like Fallout because it's dystopian, like sci-fi, so it kind of gets a pass. He's in the bathroom. He said hi. He said hi to me while he was pooping. Generate. Let him know I say hi back. And I'll see him soon. No, no, before he went in. I don't believe you. You know what? I don't believe you. Little smug face. A little smug rat face. I bet he was pooping. I bet he was mid-pinch when he said hi to me. That's what I believe. Filthy. Disgusting. You will prep your risotto balls soon, then we're gonna watch episode 5 of what? Wizard of Toz? Sorry, but can you say your reason again? Oh, it's just not my thing. Wheel of Time. Wow, that actually makes less sense to me. I actually, never mind. I know what Wheel of Time is. Yeah, it's just not my thing. You know, sometimes you, like, do you ever get that feeling with some stuff where you're just like, I mean, I can see its appeal, but I'm just like, Not my thing. It's not jerking my gherkin, you know? Doesn't sprinkle my dinkle. And I guess that's probably because fantasy is such a big thing for me. So anything beyond that doesn't necessarily have the same kind of effect or pull on me. Absolutely nothing about its quality, I think, because like there are some amazing sci-fis. I also think some superhero stuff kind of because sci-fi is such a broad genre. Okay, cool. Because I had the misconception you liked sci-fi because of Fallout or one of your because Fallout or one of my favorite genres. It's it's complicated, I think, because it's not even that I don't necessarily like sci-fi, because you can never say that about a genre, I think. It's just that most science fiction doesn't grab me. Some does, but yeah. Sci-fi is good for you, but like you're such a mythology fantasy sucker. Put a cryptid or a dragon in a story and you're there. Yeah. Ain't that the truth with Nyx? Okay, I got it, so it depends. Yeah, exactly. It's like I don't really hate anything or dislike anything too much, but it's like some things just don't necessarily appeal to me. And it could be because I'm not the target audience or any host of reasons, but yeah. A lot of the time if it's like a setting and if it's set in space, I'm probably not gonna have that intrigue. Space has never really tickled my pickle. Um, but you know, other things, certain games that are like do classify as sci-fi, I do love, like Fallout and stuff like that. But that's because for me, a bigger importance for me is storytelling. If it tells a good story, then I'm willing to I will probably get invested. And I think that's the difference. And I guess that's kind of relative to say as well, because, like, you know, most things tell a good ish story. Most of the time, things tell a good story. But for me, it's like, if it's fantasy, it needs to tell a great story or a good story really well. Otherwise, you're not getting my butt in that chair. There we go. That actually does really give form. That's awesome. Right, and something such as media, almost as subjective as food or something. Yeah, absolutely. Like sci-fi when it's like horror or subterranean. Space is cool though. Yeah, that's fair. I agree with Nex on that. And I don't agree with Nex on much. She loves Castlevania season 3 and 4. Zombie Slayer, are you a huge sci-fi? Good question. I won't answer for him, but I do think I know the answer. I suspect the answer. Did I love most TV shapes and colors? Yeah, that's true, isn't it? That is true, isn't it? Maybe I do read the Halo books and play the games. A lot of our pod was just me going pretty and you being in depth. Yeah, that's true, isn't it? That's true, in it. Not good. No, I'm not going to say that. That's mean and untrue as well. So there's no point. You're always mean to you though. Am I? I'm a pretty nice mouse. I'm a pretty cool mouse though. So, like I kind of get away with it, right? You know, I've got that cool, whimsical style that bullies crave. Bullies want to be me. super mean today? I've literally spoken to you for maybe 20 minutes. How could I be super mean today? That's bollocks. What's your ride or die genre? That's a good question. That's the problem in. Ah, mate. You're just. This is character assassination. Everybody knows Grey Mass is like the cool dude, cool nice guy who's like rad and stuff. Been ignored, forgotten. Yeah, but I've ignored and discarded you for like 2 years at this point. So like, what's new? You can't use that as a reason for being mean today. I did, I abandoned you 2 years ago. I assume you mean like all-time favorite, or do you mean one specific media, like only for games or only for? Feel free to specify if you'd like. Whatever comes to mind. Your game genre is like different to uh, other media, to be honest. Yeah, exactly. So it can vary. Think about it this way, next. Dobby wasn't around Harry Potter all the time. Sometimes the main character is going to be away from the side characters, you know? That's horrible. Man, I'm funny. I'm a rad funny dude. Mouse. It's okay, I'll just be sad on the side. Oh my god. Yeah, you do that. Don't go bringing me down. I feel like I'm gonna get a message from you. It's gonna be really sad. Now, so for something that started for movies, it's Star Wars. For TV shows, it's regular show. For games, it's COD Zombies or Halo. That's fair. Halo from the pooper. Hey, I knew it. Frosty was talking about me while he was shitting. While he was taking a greasy sheet. Lovely to see you, man. How you doing? I'm gonna let you figure it out funnier this way. I've forgotten what you were saying. Yeah, but I can never pick a all-time favorite. That's fair. The pooper is the best place to think. That's fair. I get that too. That makes perfect sense. Frosty is just so bloody insightful. Love it. Love to hear what he's thinking. So if he tunes in from the pooper, then I know that I'm getting the best thought. Doing pretty good. What about you? I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing okay. I'm trying to live a slightly healthier life. So doing morning jogs, I'm eating healthier, stuff like that. So life is pretty good. Uh, Pooping well, always nice. You know, regular poops. Might be switching away from normal milk to oat milk and stuff. So things are happening. As as the good poops. Yeah, exactly. No wipers all the time. Constant and consistent no wipies. Love it. That's the dream. Uh, I, I'm like my fave is what I'm currently focused on of what of like whatever I come back to. Favorite is a fleeting. Yeah, that makes sense for next. Our allegiances change sporadically. Sometimes she's the sweetest person you'll ever meet. Sometimes she's Mega Bully 5000. The biggest bully you'll ever know. Got my little goblin laugh. Games currently Pokemon Violet and Kingdom, huge Switch gamer. Books and TV is fantasy for you, so like Wheel of Time, Percy Jackson. Podcasts surprisingly love horror, like the Magnus Archives or the Bright Sessions. That's fair. All good. More thriller than horror, to be honest. That's fair. Also fair. Oh, and for anime, your favorite is Attack on Titan. Fantasy is Lord of the Rings. Very good. Very good choices. Very respectable. I am gonna watch season 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen soon, and I'm so excited. Would that count as science fiction? I never know. I guess not. Cells at Work is a very close second. That's also really good. Yeah. Damn, very good choice. Such a I'm such a magical girl fiend for anime. That makes sense actually, yeah. X loves her anime. To be honest, I'm just ADD as fuck and like whatever hold my attention for more than 5 minutes, yeah. That makes sense. So I'm sure Tally's got the good got those good recommendations for anime. God damn, you're into a lot of things. Yeah, next kind of like very very talented and enthusiastic about a lot of stuff, so she jumps from thing to thing a lot. It's cool. She's got a lot of passion projects and things like that. Ellie and I watch same sad anime together. He makes fun of you for crying. That makes sense because Tally has no emotions. He's only got that one emotion, that's contempt. I love making it out to seem like Tally's like a psychopath. He's not, he's lovely. But also very funny to is he in the house? Am I saying this to him nearby? Is it true that Percy Jackson fans aren't allowed to speak about the movies? Is that true? He's in his room. Nice. Probably pooping too. Classic Tally. Those of you who don't know, which should be most of you, he doesn't have a bathroom in his room. He has a bunch of Pringles cans. What movies? There's a Disney Plus series coming soon. Oh my god. It's true. She's like the M. Night deniers. The people who say that the Avatar movie doesn't exist. They're just like the worst, to be honest, not worth acknowledging. That's fair. Hey, next, I got a question for you. Good question, too. When you coming back to streaming? Okay, my apologies for bringing them up at all, as if they existed in the first place. Okay. Don't want to wrong a Percy Jackson fan. I mean, as sane as most fans of stuff. When I set up a capture card that works, I'm decidedly not a PC gamer. Ah, lame. Well, get on it. I want to see next streams. I want to see the next streams. I want to see my favorite streamer return the streams. And until Frosty does that, I'll settle for you. To be honest, once work comes down a bit in the middle of like 3 different software rollouts and MOG were we're trying to consolidate uh 2 networks into one. Wow, some best friend you are. Get back to streaming. Get back to streaming. I'll be nice to you on your streams. When you're in my kingdom, I am who I am. I will be whoever I want to be. I'll be what the fans demand, and that's an asshole. You're gonna be nice to you today? Maybe. If you tell me that you're gonna start streaming. If you tell me you're not gonna start streaming, then I'm gonna just call you Stimky. Stinky with an M. Hey, I'm coming to visit, ain't I? What if I wait to start streaming till I get your assets? Oh yeah, that's true, isn't it? I should work on them. I actually probably could do them. Yeah, do them. I'll throw something together. Mouse, which actor do you think had their talent wasted the most? I have your opinion, but I'd love to hear yours and anyone else's. Talent wasted the most. That's a good question. I think Daniel Radcliffe's talent is wasted a lot nowadays. He's not a bad actor. But yeah. Well, Cowper and I are gonna cozy up and watch what? Lovely chatting, Zombie Slayer. You're still my best, even though you're mean, Mr. Mouse Man. Don't call me Mr. Mouse Man. I like that. You both have a good night. Later, gamer. Later, gamer. Next. See you on the streams. See you at the clubs. Yeah, I think Daniel Radcliffe always is often underutilized in newer stuff. I think he's great in Guns Akimbo, and I think he's awesome in Horns, but he's not given enough like good stuff with meat. I watched recently. There are some characters that are, I mean, people, actors who are hugely wasted and stuff, but I can't think of them right now. That's the only problem. What are your examples? Who do you have in mind? Henry Cavill, that's fair. Oh my god, yeah, you're right. Completely wasted in so much stuff. You're absolutely right. That's a perfect example, yeah. That's your pick. Yeah, he's awesome. And yeah, so deeply underutilized. And like, I mean, don't even get me started on The Witcher, but like all of his talent was completely wasted in The Witcher. They didn't listen to him. They didn't respect him, like his knowledge or authority. Bloody hell, yeah. And to be completely fair, he's pretty good at making shit movies better because he's in it. Yeah, oh, absolutely. I think he is the like one of the few saving graces of like the Superman movie or the Superman movie he was in, and then the Batman versus Superman movies or Batman versus Superman movie and Injustice. I don't think Injustice could be saved, but definitely like the Superman movie he's in. It's only good because he's Superman. That's it. Everything else is terrible about that, or not good. Ooh, sorry. And he looks like how a modern Superman should look, to be honest. Yeah, I agree. Good looking man. He's a great actor. A nice guy as well. He's a likable personality. You know, all these things. And just constantly underutilized in almost everything that he's in. 'Cause I think, like, he's fantastic in Mission Impossible Fallout. But sadly, that series is a monument to Tom Cruise's ego. So he wasn't getting a bigger role than the one he got. And it's like if there is a character or an actor who comes onto Mission Impossible who is easily more popular than Tom Cruise, then you know for certain that he's not going to remain uh, in Mission Impossible for long. And in terms of Witcher, the Warhammer 40k show movie coming out, that he's a genuine nerd in. Yeah, exactly. He's an expert. And all they need to do to make it like make those series good, listen to him, which producers don't like to do um because they don't like they would rather just have their ego stroked. I also hate in like how in real life he's so heavily he's treated with such a sexualization which is so uncomfortable, and he's very polite and friendly, and then like you'll get TV interviews with him and his like co-stars, and interviewees will be like remarkably inappropriate with him, you know, and heavily sexualize him, and it's like this is not like this is just not good. Like this is just not how you treat a guest on your show, let alone, you know, anyone. I mean, yeah, this is not how you treat anyone, let alone a guest on your show. That's the what I meant to say. But yeah, it's horrible. He's just treated like he's treated badly as well. He's really that gamer who just leveled up the shit out of his character and now he's really famous but never forgets his nerdy foundation. Yeah, absolutely. And I think from an interview he was bullied quite heavily as a kid. And that's what led him to, you know, working out and going to the gym because like he didn't have that kind of like that was his healthy outlet, you know, that was his outlet for what he how he'd been treated. And since he's a man, no one cares. Yeah, and that's a big part of it. And that's tragic. Yeah, he's just such a nice guy. I'd love to meet him. If I ever got a chance to just get an autograph or something, I'd love to meet him. Just seems so nice. And like it's almost so much that I'm like I wish I knew more about Warhammer because then I feel like I would have something to talk to him about. But I don't. So it's like I like Vermintide and he'd probably be like that. Yes. Like shit. Failed. My one chance to talk to Henry Cavill and I fucked it up. And for some reason all celebrities can't have privacy. Yeah, that is a bit like I mean, you know, series of problems and stuff like that, but it does sound like it sucks. You can never just have a life outside of your fame and stuff. And that would feel quite crippling. I like because I'm setting up this stuff now and I'm doing it in a way where I'm being acutely aware of how big of a community I would want to grow and because I have to do a little bit of that whole kind of marketing and stuff like that because I want people to read the comic or I want to be able to get my comic out there. But I'm free to kind of curate how much of my private life is available. Um, and celebrities don't really get that like option. They don't get to hide their faces and hide their identities and that. And I mean, sure, if you really wanted to find out who I was, it'd be pretty easy, but most people don't. That's exactly what I was going to say. I wish I knew about Witcher to ask him, is this thing that happened in the game's lore accurate? Yeah, exactly. And it's like it's just a paramount to how like not enjoyable, but how contagious his passion for stuff is that even if you don't know about it, you want to know about it because you want to engage with him because he's so passionate about it, so there must be something really good about it. You know, even if it's like it's just Henry, like even if it wasn't just Henry Cavill, the passion that he brings to some of the stuff that he talks about is so contagious that you want to be able to engage with him about it. And I think that really speaks to his strength. Infectious, yeah, yeah. Yeah, he's awesome. He's so cool, and I'm glad that you brought him up. He's great. I'll take any opportunity to talk about him. Henry Cavill, what a guy. Even in an interview, he goes, "That looks like a Black Star fortress that does this and this cue long nerd tangent." That interested, he'll be a nerd to show that he knows his stuff. Yeah, exactly, and it's super cool. Have you seen that? So there is an interviewer who is really good at his job. I don't know his name, but he's a nerdy guy, and he's very passionate about nerdy stuff, which is great. And he's also very articulate and very good at talking to people. But his interviews with Henry Cavill are great because he talks to him about Warhammer. And I remember, I think for the Enola Holmes press tour, he asked Henry Cavill what Warhammer Army Sherlock Holmes would be interested in. Like, if he were to like play Warhammer, what Sherlock Holmes, his character, would play, like what faction. And he had this, and Henry Cavill had this really articulate and fascinating, like fascinatingly well thought out answer. And it's clear that like Henry Cavill thinks about his characters beyond just the role, but personality. The implications of the personality, like and things like that. And so he had a fully articulated answer to something that he was passionate about a character that he was playing that would likely not have been passionate about that. Yeah, I remember watching that. Yeah, it's super cool. It's so fascinating, and it's such a um, cool insight into how Henry Cavill's brain kind of works in these situations, or how it like processes information or interest. Super cool. And at that point, it's not an interview, it's talking to someone who also is in love with something. Yeah, exactly. It's no longer a formal interview or a news interview or a press interview. It's a conversation. And that can be very hard to do as an interviewee and an interviewer, is to create a space that an interview becomes a conversation between two like-minded people, or just two people, just in general. Great. Speaks to both of their character. I think they're able to do that. It can be tough to engage with people as people sometimes, and it's such a wild thing, but it can be. I think like 20 minutes into the stream, my brain was like, change, like you should change the music, and then I ended up just not changing the music. It doesn't matter because it's fine. But I was just like, oh wow, I'd let that just go, like mentally leave me. And then in another interview, someone says they play Custodes in Warhammer, and he's like, "Oh, dude, that's sick. Should we? Yeah, we're playing together. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Tom Holland. Oh, is maybe it's the Tom Holland one, but when he was on the Graham Norton show explaining, oh no, it wasn't Tom Holland because I remember specifically Tom Holland. He doesn't play Warhammer, but he wanted to, and Henry Cavill was like, he's in to it. Or maybe it was. I can't be certain, but yeah, it is. It's unsurprising, but it is funny to know how often Henry Cavill talks about Warhammer on like interviews. It was with Tom Holland, and he was there. I think. Oh yeah, okay. That wouldn't surprise me, but yeah, I can't remember exactly how that interview went. But yeah, cool either way, because Henry Cavill just being the best. Like he was at the interview. Yeah, it was Graham Norton. It was on the Graham Norton show. I remember that much. But I can't be sure of who was playing Custodes. I have a weird, not thing, but like, I have this suspicion with Tom Holland. And it's only ever been confirmed in the stuff I've seen him do. And it's that I think Tom Holland takes on the personality traits of whoever he is acting alongside or doing press tours with. And it once I started noticing it, it started to get it felt weird, but then it was just continuously confirmed. So I don't know what to do with that like information and knowledge. And I don't necessarily want to collect sample sizes and stuff. If you started talking about Warhammer to me, it would be thing meme of all the math equations and stuff. Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, I don't know at all what he's talking about. I'd get like little bits, and I'd be like, oh, I know that. I know Sigma. I know Sigma. Praise him. Stuff. But beyond that, I'm like, I don't fucking know. And I definitely don't know 40k. I know the other one, not 40k, the fantasy one, as opposed to 40k, which is like the sci-fi. Set in the same universe, I think. So yeah, that's weird. Although I haven't noticed it before, but I guess that's how you get stuff done. Yeah. So to kind of explain what I mean, um, when he would, I mean, he's still sort of Spider-Man. I don't think he'll be Spider-Man much longer. But when he was, doing press tours and stuff for Spider-Man, he took on a lot of the traits of Robert Downey Jr. He started to dress like Robert Downey Jr. He started to act like Robert Downey Jr. in a way, and it's like you can look at interviews and stuff, or press junkets or red carpets and stuff like that. He wears the same glasses as Robert Downey Jr. Things like that. Yeah, the Emperor of Man, we worship him and stuff. Me if I was talking with Henry Cavill. Yeah, exactly. I feel like a conversation with Henry Cavill would be a lot of him explaining Warhammer to me, and I'd be totally okay with that because I'd want to learn more about not Henry Cavill. I'd love that's a Freudian slip. I'd love to learn more about Warhammer. I almost said Henry Cavill again. Jesus, down bad for Henry Cavill. I'd love to learn more about Warhammer, but there are so many books about it, like so many novels on it, that it almost feels like suffocatingly dense to the point where I almost don't want to learn about it just because there's so much. In and out, just breathe. I got this. I know what I'm doing. So funny how my brain just went, oh, Henry Cavill, over and over. Words escaping me. Evening. But what's cool is I'll be back online tomorrow because I've changed my schedule and I've put the schedule up. Schedule's up on Twitch now, so if you need insight into when I'll be on and where, not that that matters, but I'll be on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays now because that works better with my schedule. Previous, like it didn't before. So Sundays was starting to get a little bit more complicated with that too. And since I've been approved for compressed hours, I actually now have a free day on certain Mondays. a free day as if it's school. I mean a day off. So some like every second Monday I may have a slightly longer stream or I'll start earlier. Get what you mean? It's so fucking much. Have you read this book first? However, it's a sequel to this game. Oh, and there's also different canon timelines, by the way. Oh, and then these books are the best, but they're long. That's how Warhammer is to you from a perspective of someone who isn't a fan. Yeah, absolutely. It's so there's so much. There's so much. My brain cannot handle it. I have to get my head around my own like fantasy series lore, which I created, so I'm fine with that. But yeah, it's so much to get your head around just the intricacies of that. So much so that I just don't want to. I just don't want to risk it. To be honest, that's why I listen to Warhammer lore on YouTube and don't care if I forget it. That's fair. That's fair. That's reasonable. You've tried at the very least. But you're creating lore, so you get a pass. Yeah, exactly. Kind of free in that aspect. That'll do. Sorry, listen to Warhammer lore on YouTube to help you sleep. Oh, right. So it like goes in one ear and then maybe out the other. Some of it may stick. Some may be inserted in your dreams. You just can't be sure. You roll the dice on that. Um, Terrible. Way better. That may be it. Yeah, I'm sure it's very read what you like, but how do I know what I'll like when there's so much? I'll probably have to read like 10 different books and go through getting interested in multiple factions until until you get to the one you enjoy. Yeah, exactly. And that feels like a huge investment to maybe just go, oh, actually, maybe I don't like Warhammer. At the end of it, you're just like, oh, maybe I don't. I'm not into this. It's like this is cool, but it's not what I expected it to be, or not what I thought it would be. I'm not into it. And then you're just like, well, now what do I do? I've just read so many. Do I continue on because of that investment or not? That feels like a gamble. You're gambling with the most precious thing you have, time. Like in that Justin Timberlake movie. Uh, it's about time. I don't know what it's actually called because I've never watched it. I don't watch crap. I don't watch derivative tosh. You know that movie, and I kind of liked it. That's fair enough. You're allowed to. I'm just making fun of it. Here's the thing, as well, just on top of that. Uh, the DOP, the director of photography, was Roger Deakins. So, to be fair, I like it too. I like Roger Deakins. He's maybe one of the world's greatest cinematographers. Your favorite? My favorite cinematographer for sure. Oh yeah, absolutely. I love that guy. His work is fantastic. Uh, so if you've seen, actually, I can list off any of his movies or most of his movies. So Skyfall, so the James Bond film, that one. If you've seen Sicario, that Alfonso Cuarón, that no, Denis Villeneuve, definitely not Alfonso Cuarón. Um, if you've seen Blade Runner 2049, those are all Roger Deakins films. 1917, also a Roger Deakins film that he was a cinematographer for. Haven't seen Sicario, but it seems great. It's fantastic. Very well done. Tense. Very tense as well. So it's, and definitely not the kind of movie you'd watch while you're eating. For certain bits, but yeah. Definitely really good. Cinematography is fantastic. I think something else that he's made that you may have seen. Don't know. Necessarily need to add highlights to the background characters, but I do anyway, because I'm a glutton for punishment. What else is the work of cheeky deacons? Don't know. Love 1917 as a movie watcher, but as a history nerd, it's with within you to go. That's the wrong gun. Those weren't made until 2 years later and weren't used in that battle. Good movie though. Yeah, and that's totally fair enough as well. Because I definitely don't think it's historically accurate. As a technical, like from a technical standpoint, it is insane how they managed to make that film in a way where it looks like there are no cuts. Like absolutely fascinating. But yeah. Also I know, yeah, definitely not accurate all the time anyway. I also love Blade Runner, but also apparently that wasn't very well received critically, which I don't understand, but whatever. I think box office wise, it also did too good. That's okay. It is accurate in a way. The British Army did use runners for messages, so that's true. That's cool. And like, is it accurate enough that basically it's not going to do any harm to exist on the screen? Like some movies that have inaccuracies that actually might cause harm and create misinformation. Not one of them. Oh, I feel like I could add a little bit more. Add a few things. Roman shadows. That makes sense. I have. Where's the green? Where's the Mouse, do you think writers of any media get too lost in their own work and that yes, it has good lore, but they explain so little that most people don't understand the double meaning or reading between the lines? Sometimes. So this is a really good question. I actually appreciate you asking me that because, like, admittedly, that is a thing that will that is a question that will be addressed in this. I'm building my own world in this comic, and stuff like that. Um, I think it's an issue of multiple parts. Actually, I would say it's an issue of multiple parts because basically it's also a writing problem. If you don't establish enough, then you can't build a world that stands on its own 2 feet. So as a result, you have, you know, worlds that are bloated with world building and stuff like that, but they lack the basic kind of parameters for you to understand and learn the world. And so as a result, like it's not necessarily just the world building's problem, it's that maybe you don't spend enough time establishing that kind of stuff or what have you. But yeah, it can cause big problems down the line because it's like, well, we didn't know it was gonna like we didn't know that people wouldn't understand this or that or whatever or what have you. Because we thought that they would just get it because it feels like common sense for the writer, but the writer built the world, so it would feel like common sense. So yeah, I wouldn't say it does any harm. Showed how shitty World War One was pretty well though, but it does make the Germans of World War One seem like bad guys when in reality everyone is a bad guy. Yeah, I like so in Blackadder, Blackadder kind of makes it clear that it's like the reason we went to war is because it was too expensive not to go to war. And so it was more that the soldiers were victims of corporate and military greed. And so as a result, that's why they went to war. And the world was in a bad state because of it and stuff like that. Hey, Tio! Hello, how are you? Because as a massive Halo fan, I read in between the lines, and there's some lines that are in Hungarian. In one Halo game, I translate the lines to know what was said, and I read the books. I go, ah, that's why it happens in the games. But I feel like a lot of people are clueless for some media, and it's not their fault. That's fair, and I think sometimes that is definitely the case. So it does definitely depend on like from switch situation to situation. I think more so than anything. Because yeah, some cases are just that not just bad establishing and stuff like that, and then sometimes it can be just a genuine miscommunication, or maybe the audience need to read between the lines a little bit more. It can be a whole host of things. I also think part of the crutch is that a lot of writers these days rely on exposition, to explain stuff, and they do it for world building, and then now people are like reacting quite negatively to that kind of world building through like verbal exposition. And so they're like, well, there's no other way I can show these wonderful, wondrous things in the world, so I guess I just won't explain them and then expect the audience to understand. Seems a bit wobbly. I'll go have a look back through it. Because the Germans of World War One did commit a lot of war crimes in Belgium, but the Allies made it propaganda that they committed all the war crimes to everyone, and if that's not enough, the British were fine with sending 14-year-olds to war, and some of their parents were in favor of them going to war. Yeah. Mm, yeah. It was a very grim time, for sure. And anything that depicts that kind of truth is going to get a lot of traction. It's a lot. That's probably okay. Oh, we got about 9 minutes before I raid out. Made some good progress today. That's another panel done. Posture check. I looked over that while I was like slouched like a bloody goblin. So thank you for doing that. Oh, yeah. Me back. Me back. Second crack. Okay. Ooh, that one done. Yeah, the detailing looks great. Thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate that. I may have done more than I needed to, but it's done. So that's all good. Oh god, my arms, my body. Keep that, and then what? Page 5, chapter 2. Or like Lord of the Rings, it's a hold on. Or like Lord of the Rings, it's a great story, but there's a lot of hidden meaning with it. Like J.R.R. Tolkien was a Roman Catholic, which is why Lord of the Rings feels so biblical. Yeah. Mm. And yeah, exactly. And there's background and stuff like that that will always seep its way into a story, and it's never a bad thing. Like having internal references or inspirations is never a bad thing, but there is this kind of, if it's too far from the norm, there is a need or a understanding that you should be explaining that in some capacity. Maybe that's not a hidden meaning. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's an underlying foundation, I would say, of story writing, especially for Tolkien. I get what you mean. and it's very accurate and interesting. I think we might raid out a little early. Only like 6 minutes early, so that's not too bad. And I think so. We have somebody I've been keeping an eye out for a little while. Another artist, very cool VTuber artist called Rabbit BVT. And I've wanted to kind of pop into her stream for a while, so now's the perfect time. So yeah. But on the bright side, you guys will see me tomorrow if you guys watching streams and things like that, because I'll be streaming on Tuesday. And I could explain it, but fans don't want to understand all of everything from here to here. Yeah, exactly. And that can be a tough one, can't it? It's like you don't want to have to explain like paragraphs of information just for it to make sense to one person. So you kind of have to build that sense of like common sense, or explain it in a way that could be even drip feeding it. So like there's stuff in this comic that is gonna be complicated, and I'll be drip feeding that information slowly to the audience, because if I explain it all at once, then cool, I've wasted a page with just dialogue talking about it, and that's horrible story writing. So I don't want to do that to anyone or myself. Me slams mountains of books onto the table. Okay, what do you want to know? Exactly. Yeah. It's a terrible way to tell like a visual story. You gotta tell stuff visually. And that's what I kind of love to do. But anyway, let's get raiding. Let's set the raid up. Let's hope it works. Sometimes it doesn't work because it's Twitch, and Twitch can be a bit of a gaff sometimes. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me today. I will see you all either tomorrow or Friday. But until then, bye. Oh wait. Oh, by the way, there's movies to watch, so good luck. It's an awful storytelling. I only caught a little bit. Thanks for the stream. All good. I'll see you guys tomorrow, or whenever I see you guys next. Bye 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 bye.